So thank you for that introduction and good morning, everybody. Welcome to my presentation. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the conference organisers and the Roman Finds Group for allowing me to share my research with you today. So my paper is titled Making Flour the German Way, and it's an investigation into imported lava querns and millstones in rural Roman Britain. So the paper sorry, there's some interference there. The paper I'm going to give today is part of a wider PhD project, which aims to explore the use of lava milling tools in a variety of different contexts, including military, urban and rural. But the focus today is to examine rural distribution of these objects. The occurrence of lava milling tools at rural sites is thought to be more representative of what I will loosely refer to as commercial exchange for civilian consumption. I like to emphasise the importance of lava milling tools as indicators of agriculture, food preparation and processing activities, and their vital role in everyday life as domestic tools, and their connection to social and cultural identities. Using a lava quern, as opposed to a quern made of indigenous stone, may have been the result of active choice due to their perceived advantages or cultural meaning, a matter of economics due to the presence or absence of other suitable local stone sources, or it may have been a combination of various different factors. To provide a brief summary to those less familiar with the material being discussed, a quern comprises an upper and a lower stone, named the catillus and the meta. With lava, both stones are usually perforated, through which a spindle would have been fitted to provide the axis for rotation of the upper stone. It's generally assumed that rotary querns were fully rotated during use, though more work needs to be done on use wear analysis and with experimental techniques to show this. Lava querns can usually be identified simply by the material from which they're made. So vesicular lava is easy to identify once you've seen or handled it a few times. And the presence of lava can be safely correlated with milling tools, as there's no other known primary use for the material in Britain. Other distinctive features, such as the raised annular curve on the upper stones, the gradient of the grinding surface, or the Roman style of dressing, can assist with identification of the material with the object. The example shown here of a typical upper and lower stone, as if they would almost be complete. These are from Vindolanda, as are the previous examples on the other slides, and these are unusual examples in that the preservation is excellent. More likely is the example shown in the bag here. So this has been taken from a defended settlement site at Bridge Farm, which is in the Wealden area of East Sussex, where frost damage and taphonomic factors have reduced the object to what can only be described as a bag of lava crumbs. Too often this is the case, and it prevents full examination of typology or use wear. The geology of the site and the deposition practices will affect the state of preservation, and often it's the presence of lava alone that can be recognised on any given site. Most of the lava querns and millstones that we have in Britain from Roman contexts are likely to have been sourced from the Mayen region of modern-day Germany. As seen in the map, Mayen is located in the Eifel district, close to and on the west side of the Rhine. Roman lava in Britain is often referred to as Niedermendig lava, though this terminology is incorrect, as only medieval querns and millstones were sourced from Niedermendig. If it's Roman, it's always termed Mayen. What is exceptional about Mayen lava and its source is the extensive evidence we have for quarrying and extraction of lava for the purposes of quern and millstone production. We have tools, discarded rough-outs, debitage, other manufacturing evidence. It's prolific at the site, creating a very detailed picture of how these processes were undertaken. We also have multiple villa sites in the wider area which show us how and where lava querns were finished for use. From this, we have a relatively detailed picture of the typology and development of styles of lava quern, though this is solely based on the evidence that we have in Germany. The Mayen lava is known to have been transported to Britain via the Rhine, and we have shipwreck evidence to prove this. In Britain, these objects have been strongly associated with the military, and they're thought to have been brought over in the conquest period, possibly as part of military equipment. The possibility of pre-conquest Mayan lava existing in Britain has been largely dismissed in a study that was completed by Fitzpatrick in 2017. All the data that's been taken for this study has been taken from the Rural Settlement of Roman Britain project, which was headed by Mike Fulford at Reading University. And this involved large-scale collection of data relating to site characterisation, finds evidence, burials, and environmental evidence from around 2,500 Roman rural sites in England and Wales. And one of the outcomes of the project was an open access database containing data collated during a literature sweep of excavation reports, county journals, and grey literature. However, the project wasn't aimed specifically at detailed analysis of milling tools. Only the presence or the absence of these objects in their volumes were recorded in the database. So I needed to examine the original source material and extract detailed data that I needed for my own study. Each lava milling tool has been recorded individually. So I've had the option to examine volumes, context, chronology, typology, and useware of each item as part of wider investigations. In total, there were 920 sites that had milling tools present. And these ones had been identified by lithology, so I could separate the lava from non-lava. 363 of these sites had lava present, many of which also had other querns or millstones of other stone types too. And 557 sites had milling tools present, but there weren't any of lava. Seeing as the main theme of the conference, I thought we'd begin by looking at the distribution of lava and non-lava for the southwest of Britain first. And as you can see, the distribution of lava at rural sites in the southwest is sparse, and there are many more sites in the area that make use of non-lava milling tools only. There's a clear Devon-Cornwall divide in terms of presence or absence of milling tools in general, and this is something that's been observed across the Roman settlement data, as shown in the graph at the bottom. An absence of data is part of the issue here too. There appears to be a correlation between the presence of or absence at coastal locations and at places connected to the coast via the road system. And the importance of the Bristol Channel as part of this coastal distribution is quite clear. Another observation is that urban centres don't appear to have played a role in distribution. We'll now see how this fits into the wider context. Shown here is the distribution data using heat maps. So on the left, you can see the distribution of lava, and on the right, you have sites with milling tools, but none of lava. The redder the spot, the greater the volume. To this, I've added the locations of the major urban centres, ports, harbours, and military forts. And from this, we can see that there's a clear north-south divide and a visible east-west one as well. There's clear focal areas of distribution which cluster around the urban centres of Colchester, London, and the Thames estuary area. Volumes of lava decrease further west and north and away from these centres. It seems clear that the ports of Colchester, Rochester, and London had important roles to play in terms of civilian lava consumption, and other ports on the southern and western coast see much lower volumes spreading out to rural sites. Urban centres further west also show some clustered lava distributions, such as Silchester and Gloucester, though these are significantly less concentrated around the more easterly urban areas. In the area of Hadrian's Wall, there are virtually no lava milling tools at rural sites within the dataset, other than those around the urban area of Carlisle. The lack of lava in these areas suggests that very different distribution mechanisms were in place, and that these appear to have excluded the civilian populations. However, the hinterland of Hadrian's Wall is not well researched, and the availability of data does pose some interpretive issues. The non-lava map shows very different locations of clustering, and unlike the lava milling tool heat map, any centralised distribution areas are much harder to identify. Distribution occurs as a spread, with a much larger range of smaller clusters across a wider area. And this is to be expected due to the numerous quern quarries and production areas within the province. So, for example, the concentration of non-lava querns around the Chichester district probably relates to local production of Lodsworth green sand querns, while clusters seen around the Bristol Channel area may relate to old red sandstone. In terms of transport by sea, the role of coastal locations with regards to rural lava distribution varies across the province.
Lindsay, we seem to have lost you. Are you still there? We can see your screen, but we can't hear anything.
Hello?
You're back. Excellent.
Okay.
Not sure what happened there, but please do continue.
Okay, no worries. I'll start the slide again. So in terms of transport by sea, the role of coastal locations with regards to rural lava distribution varies across the province. Sites on the east coast have long been associated with Roman period North Sea trade via the southern North Sea and Eastern Channel system, as described by Morris in 2010. And a range of different artifact types have been identified as travelling these routes. Lava from the Mayan region of Germania is thought to have been part of this trading system, and the high volumes of lava present at Colchester and London are highly indicative of the eastern coastal route being used to import these objects. However, the southern area of the province, which is still supposedly within the same catchment area, does not conform to this pattern. There is a deficit of data for large parts of East Sussex, which makes it impossible to identify whether the ports at Hastings or Pevensey had an impact on the distribution of lava at rural sites. Between Pevensey and Chichester, Fishbourne, there is significantly more data available, and this suggests that lava is occasionally found, but the sites with purely non-lava milling tools are much more common, though these are not shown on this map here. It's interesting to note that west of Pevensey, the pattern of lava quern presence is relatively consistent for much of the southern coast, as far as Exeter and Topsham. The pattern of distribution is also similar to the Bristol Channel region, including South Wales. It appears that London and Colchester acted as centralised distribution areas for these products, and the southern coast and southwestern ports did not act as direct importers of lava from the Rhineland for commercial redistribution. This is more likely to represent occasional exchange from ships carrying other products, as the volumes don't indicate the exchange of these items occurred on any great scale. On the eastern coast, towards the north of Britain, the situation appears more complex than that in the east and the southeast. Small clusters of lava appear around the ports of Wintringham, York, Scarborough, and Brow-on-Humber. But these are localised, and any further spread is firmly situated close to the road or river networks, such as at Catterick and Aldborough. The volume suggests that the rural settlements in these areas did not experience the large influx of lava milling tools seen in the south, east, and east, and that these products failed to infiltrate the commercial markets in quite the same way. The non-lava data, not shown here, appears to suggest that there could have been greater competition with querns and mills of indigenous stone types in terms of availability or preference. In this area, lava objects are not distributed along the coast, but are further inland in most cases, likely to be being moved using river systems and ports further inland. It's possible that military sites influence lava accessibility and popularity at these inland locations. In comparison with these regions, the areas directly around Hadrian's Wall offer a very different view of distribution. The eastern side of this part of Britain is still categorised as being within the South North Sea trade system as described by Morris. The rural settlements in this region were not the same in terms of access to or desire for lava milling tools when compared with southern regions. It's only lava milling tools that are absent at rural sites close to the frontier. Other finds categories, such as writing equipment, agricultural tools, glass objects, are also frequently absent, whereas these can often be found at rural sites in the south, possibly indicating a much greater separation between military and rural life in these regions, with less chance of exchange between these communities. This can be used to illustrate the point that North Sea trade was not experienced consistently within the region described by Morris. The map on the left shows distribution of lava milling tools with identification of the type of rural site from which they came using the Rural Settlement Project's site categories. From this, it's possible to see that in the east and southeastern areas of Britain, there is less discrimination in terms of the types of site where lava was found. Virtually every site type is represented and none appears to be more dominant than another. Further west and away from Colchester and London catchment areas, where the site clusters become less dense, there are more roadside settlement sites, defended settlements and villas with lava present. And the small town settlement and farmstead sites become much less likely to have one of these objects present. This is the pattern seen as far west as Gloucester, where farmsteads are the least likely site to have a lava milling tool. In the southwest, data is very sparse, and there's only enough to say that 2 farmsteads close to a Vickers site had lava present. Wales in the northwest of Britain show similar distributions. Lava is predominantly found at roadside settlement sites in Vicky. This is also true of the area around Hadrian's Wall, though defended small towns also have shown a lava presence. In the northeast and sites north of Lincoln, there is a scattering of different site types where lava was found. There's several farmsteads and 3 small town settlement sites, though these mostly are near to a Vickers villa or roadside settlement sites. There are a few villa or roadside settlements within the London and Colchester catchment areas that do not have lava. West of London, it's mainly small town settlement and farmstead sites that do not have lava querns or millstones. The heat maps here show some interesting results with regards to chronological change in lava quern use. As it's been speculated, due to the possible introduction to Britain by the military in the early Roman period, there's a peak of lava presence in the 1st century with a marked concentration in the southeast, and this persists into the 3rd century. This correlates with what's already understood of the material, as lava querns have been found in pre-Boudiccan deposits in Colchester and early contexts in London. They are clearly popular in the southeast, still reaching rural sites at times they begin to disappear from other regions. So other than the very southeast of Wales, there is nothing in Wales after the 2nd century, which is similar to the pattern that's seen in most of the rest of the southwest. The presence seen in the 4th century is more likely to represent residual material. Northern Britain, there is more in the 2nd and 3rd century, which fits well with historical narratives in terms of military presence. In conclusion, it's been possible to view the distribution of lava milling tools as showing that of commercial exchange was not always solely reliant on a military presence, and that a variety of different exchange mechanisms were responsible. Some areas of Britain may have been more heavily engaged in trade with the continent, such as the East and Thames Estuary region of the Southeast. Other areas saw redistribution from military sites, such as in the north of the province, and it's likely that lava was transported as part of directed trade, and that some spilled out to wider areas for civilian consumption. Similar to this is the view seen in much of the southern coast, southwest and Bristol Channel region, where the pattern may indicate redistribution from urban sites in the southeast. This east-west split in distribution is seen in other finds types, and the data now adds to the evidence that we have. In terms of chronology, the peak in lava quern commercial exchange occurs in the 1st century and persists into the 3rd. This declines faster in areas of the southwestern Wales, possibly indicating redistribution was not operating the same way as it had done previously. In terms of the southwest specifically, it was connected to the North Sea and Channel systems of exchange via redistribution coastal networks that probably sourced lava milling tools from southeastern ports. Future work will produce a more holistic picture and will incorporate military and urban data to understand the interrelationship between these sites. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Lindsay. That was great.